welcome back to another episode of One Miss Pod. I'm Zack Long,
I'm Kelly Warner.
and we're back in it. We're back in the Ring-a-Palooza again.
Yeah, we finished all the Ring movies of Japan, and we're
All with very, very strong quotation marks around them.
Oh, that's true. No, you're right. No, yeah, I mean,
we finished the first round.
Yeah, the first round. I mean, it's like, do we start counting the Sadako movies as a different series? In a way, you kind of almost have to kind of consider that as a, I don't know.
I 100% count them separately, and here's what I'm going to put out. I think that what we should do is that we should finish up our Ring-a-Palooza with our beautiful feast we have for you all today. Even though I'm acting coy as if you haven't already read the episode titles, you sneaky dogs. But I think that later on, we should do a Ring-a-Palooza 2.
The Sadako
Probably a different name. Yes, exactly.
I think Jay mentioned that last
I believe so. Yes, I was listening to that.
You weren't here.
I know, and I should go away more often. Y'all complimented me so much; it was great. It was just serotonin flooding my brain as I edited it. It feels nice. Just freebase. I'll freebase that episode into my veins. That's not how that works. Anyway, moving on. What did we watch today, Kel?
Okay, well, so this episode is a little, I think it's probably going to get to listeners a little bit late. But we are watching The Ring from Gore Verbinski and The Ring 2 from Hideo Nakata. Not to be confused with Ring 2, aka Ringu 2.
By Hideo Nakata.
Also directed by Hideo Nakata. This is a sequel to The Ring by Gore Verbinski, which is a remake of Ring, or aka Ringu, directed by Hideo Nakata. They brought Hideo Nakata back to do The Ring 2, which again is not Ring 2. So I made that purposefully confusing.
I know, it was wonderful. Here's the important thing. We're talking about 2 English language films this episode.
Yeah, and this is kind of, Green Slime was English language, but it was directed, and it was all Japanese cast, and I think Japanese studio. So this is American studio.
It was American cast.
Oh, American cast. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But it was English language. But these are American movies, and but they were making exceptions to the rule because partly because Hideo Nakata directed Ring 2. Basically, that's what's that will pass allowance.
Here's the thing that I had set up originally with the show was that what we should do is we should make sure that the above the line talent, that is your directors and your writers,
sure. But the Verbinski film doesn't necessarily qualify.
It does not. But here's my other thing in that, which is that I think because of the fact that it is a straight remake, it is by its very nature, it is in dialogue with the original.
It was in a lot of dialogue of the previous episodes, that's for sure.
That is absolutely for sure. So we kind of have to, but there is... but at some point, though, we also have to talk about some of the other remakes, and the only way to really do that is to dive in, because by looking at the remakes, we identify differences between the 2 cultures from which they've been made.
Also, I think if we wanted to cover Nakata's The Ring 2 starring Naomi Watts and not cover the Verbinski film, we would be having to explain a lot of shit. So it's just better to we're going to talk about those. We're not going to talk about the Ring's 3rd film from America. I don't think we're going to get to that anytime soon, if ever. But these were all right. We can't... Zach. But we can also
next
talk
week
about
Rings.
No, but we can talk about the short film Rings that was made in between Ring and Ring 2.
Yes. So okay, you told me to watch this because I did not know this existed.
Right, I think it's
by... that was so good.
Who is it directed by? I'm checking. 1 second, I'm sorry. you can edit this part out where I'm like blah 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 blah. Fucking hell. I think it's Jonathan Liebesman, but I want to make sure I pronounce that name correctly.
Rings 2005.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rings 2005 is Jonathan Liebesman. All right. Okay. So yeah, there was also the short film Rings, which I think went online, and it's also on the Blu-ray of The Ring and also the DVD of The Ring too. It was directed by Jonathan Liebesman, who I think did one of the Texas Chainsaw prequels.
Yeah, and that prequel sucked, but that short film is fucking glorious.
It is
that
pretty
short
good. It is
film
good.
is
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
And it does lead right into The Ring too.
It leads right into The Ring too in the most frustrating way ever.
It does,
which
right?
is that it is great, and then the Ring 2's opening sucks, which is why I remember that movie sucking. And we'll get to my thoughts on that movie. Can we start at the beginning and just work through? Start at The Ring, and we'll move through, and then we'll get to the short, and then we'll do Ring 2.
Ring 2.
I think that's the only way that I'll be able to survive this conversation
for sure. But yeah, no, we just wanted to say those are the things we're talking about today. Before we get to that, I got no streaming news, but one new Blu-ray release date news is Arrow Video is putting out Ryohei Kitamura's Versus, the cult classic. They're putting it out on Blu-ray December 7th, and so that's I like the film. It's it's kind of Evil Dead action Yakuza sort of whatever. It's
that was one of the ones I found in high school. I found that downloaded it actually and showed it to all my friends, and it is like martial arts and badassery, and there's like criminals who are doing crime stuff and bringing people to the forest for crime things when zombies come back. So like badass criminals have to fight zombies, and it just keeps ramping up and up and up and up and up and up.
Yeah, it
just ramps.
It's one of those films, one of those Japanese films of the era that it seemed like everyone was talking about. You have to see this one, like Battle Royale and other things, and Ring.
I love Battle Royale so much.
I don't think Versus is quite on the level of those, but you know it's all right. But so that's one to keep an eye out for in December.
It is fun, but it's not groundbreaking ever.
No. I mean, Kitamura, he wears his influences on his sleeve. It's like, this is obviously Sam Raimi, and then it's obviously all the Yakuza movies he grew up on, and then Bruce Lee and shit. And he's one of those guys that you can just imagine as sort of like he has like the inner spirit of a 14-year-old boy who just is like, this is cool, put that in there. This is cool, put that in there. And
a Japanese Tarantino without the flair.
Kinda, yeah. And I mean, yeah, he kind of brought some of that to one of my least favorite Godzilla movies, the Godzilla Final Wars, but the one thing that you can say
I have seen that one.
The one thing you can say about Final Wars is that's a Kitamura film. Most Godzilla movies, you can't necessarily say who directed it. That one's a Kitamura film. And so in that way, it's kind of interesting. But we're not going to talk too much more about Versus. So anything new that you want to talk about before we get to the discussion of the movies?
Oh, man. It has been a little while because I wasn't on the last episode.
Yeah, no, this is the first episode of October, and it's going to be, I think, probably debuting in the second. It already is in the second week of October.
Yeah, it's a heavy one. I got a new computer because mine just died on me, just kaputzed. And so I got a new computer, most expensive thing I've bought. I started doing writing for some lawyer stuff, and that's an easy job that should hopefully work well because I feel like that just fits me well. And I'm thinking of trying to do like NaNoWriMo.
Oh, no.
I'm thinking of I'm not like, and I don't mean that as in whatever through their website, whatever bullshit. I don't know any of that stuff. I just mean like, fuck it, November, write a book.
Yeah, no, I did that a couple times. It's at a pace that's not to my liking. Actually, I wrote my worst book on NaNoWriMo before, so yeah, you can write a book during that time. It's not for everybody, and that's okay, you know.
I think I need like 3 weekends.
Mm,
I so my the book idea I have is gonna be an introduction in 3 chapters, or 3 parts. They're not even going to be chapters,
okay.
and each one is going to be just a direct dive into a certain form of crystallized chaos.
Hmm.
And each one, I have no idea where it's going to go. I just know the parameters for around which it's going to function. And so I am going to just write into insanity, like try to hit like 20,000 words a piece, maybe.
Oh yeah,
And
no,
that
that'll
I could do
finish a
that
book real
in, I could
quick.
do, well, yeah. And that, I mean, so like if 3 chapters, 20 each, and that I do 10 a day over 2 weekends, like give myself 3 weekends, then boom, that wouldn't be bad. Doesn't need to be a super long one. It just needs to do what I want to do.
Right? Yeah, sure.
And it's gonna like throw out pretty much every fucking rule, because it is going to get chaotic and bombastic.
Let me see here. I don't have any NaNoWriMo plans or any real news to kind of drop on. Uh, it's been kind of a rough week starting October, but you know, one thing helping me get through it is all the horror movies that I've
I
been
was
watching.
actually about to ask you about that,
Mm-hmm.
but if you were about to say like the one thing that's gonna help me get through it is Jesus, I was like, I should probably not ask about horror right now. But you said the first month of October, and I haven't been watching hardly anything. So what have you
Mm.
been catching up on?
Okay, let's see. Well, I'm doing the Letterbox Challenge Hooptober, but I'm also just
I
watching my
haven't
own
watched
shit.
a single one from it. I've been
um,
bad.
my let's see. Some of my favorite horror films that I've caught, the new films that I've caught recently. Sea Fever is a kind of ecological aquatic horror contagion sort of thing. I think it's from Ireland. That one
Ooh,
was really good. I really like
Ireland.
that one. Yeah.
I
That
like
one.
that.
Yeah, that one I highly recommend. It's on Hulu right now in the states.
Uh,
Um. Oh, I caught Possum. The
oh, I like possum.
Yeah, that one was good and creepy. It was more drama than horror than as far as what I was. I went into that movie
It
with
has
so
a,
much dread.
it has a very weird twist.
Yeah, no, it
The
does. Yeah,
ending feels a little.
it feels a little sudden. It feels like there should have been more movie to it, in my opinion. But I don't know. But no, I
Yeah.
those two I liked a lot, and other than that, you know, just trying to catch up on some of the movies that fit the Hooptober scavenger hunt criteria, and some of
Oh,
those movies have turned out to be very bad. But
I actually do have a little bit of movie news myself.
mm,
Just earlier today, I got in my copy of David Cronenberg's Shivers on Blu-ray.
oh, cool. Cool.
And so now, and we know that Crash is coming out from Criterion. So I'm going to
I
get
lost you.
Crash,
Uh,
and I'll be missing a couple of the new ones, but I'll have to pick up Rabbit. But I think with Rabbit and Dead Zone, Fly, Naked Ringers, those are like all his. I'll need to get those, but I have like everything else from like almost all his '70s shit now.
mm.
Getting all the prime era Cronenberg on the nice Blu-rays. I almost said nice DVDs. I haven't bought a DVD since.
No, I.
I said either I gotta buy Blu-rays or DVDs. I can't do both.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, let's talk about VHS, The Ring.
Yeah. Yeah. So
On
the
previous
ring.
episodes, we talked about how we got here. We compared it to the first. I think that basically let's just jump in. I think we've said so much about it that we can dive right in and just.
Yeah, for sure.
The
Well,
second one's going to need a lot more. The first
yeah,
one is pretty much a straight remake.
yeah. It adds more, but in terms of, for example, the ring itself does not apply only to a cell phone ring anymore. Um, uh,
Did you just say
but
cell phone?
telephone.
Oh, okay. I thought you said a cell phone ring, and I was like, we gotta go way back. We gotta be more retro than that. We gotta think Garfield phones.
But yeah, so I don't know what you're saying sometimes. um, but yeah, so I think most people have seen this film, or at least the original Ring. So cursed videotape. You see it, you start experiencing weird shit, and you die after 7 days if you don't figure out the curse. Basically, I mean that's basically it. And we have Naomi Watts as the journalist who gets involved with this after her niece dies from the curse, and Brian Cox is also in the cast as Sadako, now Samara, her dad, and
I
so yeah.
think I think that the key difference is that between these two movies is found most readily in the. Sorry, I'm waiting for a truck to pass.
Yeah, that's a loud track.
I think the key difference between these two movies is found most readily in the way that the attack scenes, and I want to put air quotes around that you can't see right now, so just know they're there. But the editing in these scenes and that, like with the cousin early on in the movie, and then later with when we know already because we've watched and talked about the original that the husband character who comes back in is going to be well, he's going to be taken out, and it's going to be sad and tragic because they just started getting back together. But the
Hmm.
way that it's edited brings almost a bit of an action movie. There's a bit of like a whipping feel into it. Like
Hmm.
we got to move in so fast that it feels too cool to be creepy.
I think I think cool also. The movie is very visually. It's a very pretty movie, I think.
It is. There's a lot on offer visually, which is my one of the praises, which I think yes, the film deserves it, but then when we compare the fact that we watched this with Ring 2, it's like, oh my god, there is a movie that is absolutely gorgeous.
But bonkers. But we'll get to that. So one of the things I liked about this film, and I don't think it really, the Nakata original didn't exactly have as much of a I don't want to say overbearing, but noticeable visual aesthetic. This one has basically throughout the most of the entire runtime, it feels like the movie is in a constant state of afternoon rainstorm sort of feel. I mean, partly that's the Seattle location, but the colors are very cool and very and
It's not quite the city from Seven, but it does demonstrate a similar sense of like the atmosphere. It is
I would
is
agree. Yeah.
purposeful.
I would
It's
agree.
very much. It's not like, oh, we went outside and this is the day we were able to shoot. It's like we wanted to make sure we got the right weather for these shots, and everything then has a sort of, I want to say, dank almost.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would think that's true. And then the moments when there is like bright color to go against the greens and blues, because most of the movie is in greens and blues. Like you got the tree that looks like it's on fire when the sun comes through it. That's so striking when it happens because until then, everything's been so dank. It it does feel purposeful, and I like it personally. I like we saw a little bit too much of this sort of color desaturated look in American film at this time, but looking back on this one, I think that it suits the film very well.
I do want to be clear. I do like this film, so I don't want to come across as too harsh on it,
Sure.
because like at 4 stars, it's a good film. But I do think I think I like the Nakata original more, and I think that the way that uh Verbinski, is that it?
Verbinski.
Burr. I feel like the way that Verbinski, like the editing of it, which is very much of its time in American film. Like I won't put this purely on him. It's probably just, it's kind of like the same way that a lot of horror that's being released now on American shores feels like it has a certain style of editing that's
Mm-hmm.
very in your face. This feels in your face in a way that it doesn't work for me tonally.
Mm.
But I think that there is a lot here. I remember the kid being more annoying, and I thought the kid actually did a really good job.
Yeah, no, I
And
really
Naomi
think that.
Watts.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. I was just gonna say, and Naomi Watts rocks. But let's talk about the kid first.
I think that this film, the children actors in this film are really good. David Dorfman plays Naomi Watts' son, who is of any of the characters is the one that most sort of feels like he has some sort of supernatural abilities, kind of like a lot of the characters in the original Ring movies did. Um, kind of a sense
He
of
totally does, though.
yeah, I mean, he does, but it's downplayed and it's not really talked about like he's some
Until the
sort of.
second one.
Yeah, in the second one, yeah, for sure. He's
Which can
really
I?
good, and he's kind of creepy, sad, and
Before we move on.
yeah,
Oh,
for
sorry.
sure. No, go,
I
go,
thought
go.
you were going to Naomi next. But
I was
but I
going to
just
go to
wanted.
the other kid. Yeah,
Okay, well, actually, even before we get to her. Okay, yeah. So the kid comes back. David, was it?
yeah, David Dorfman, who plays
David
Aiden.
Dorfman. So Aiden comes back in the second one.
Yeah,
In the first one, Aiden does a great job. In the second one, Aiden is absolutely has no idea what the fuck he's supposed to be doing.
I know.
He is so
It's
confused and
I
wooden
know
and awful, and it's
he is. I think that the first film doesn't ask him to do too much, but the second film rests on his shoulders so much, and he is clueless and a little bit unprepared, and it's kind of sad because he seemed like a great performer in the first one, and the second one he's just
I also want. Well, here's the thing too. I bet you that Verbinski spent a lot of time with him.
yeah, I would bet that too.
And I bet you that it's hard for a person who speaks Japanese to direct intimate questions to a young English speaker.
Yeah, that seems possible. I also want to talk. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that seems to be incredibly difficult.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, and like more experienced actors, like Naomi Watts and Elizabeth Perkins, Sissy Spacek, and the sequel, they know how to do their shit. A kid, not so much.
And that's not the kid's fault. And that's
No, no,
just
no,
you
no, it's
gain
not.
that with experience and time, and what the kid's lacking is
And also,
time.
a director that's kind of willing to take the kid and help him, a little bit more. But
And I gotta feel like even if the director tries, he's probably getting translated by somebody else, and it's like there's something lost in that connection between director and actor in that.
and also, we'll get to this more later, but Nakata hated his experience working on The Ring too, and
Not surprised.
he hated it, and we'll get to that more later. So that might have also led to some of that. Speaking
right.
of the kids, I also want to give some credit to Devay Chase, who plays Samara, the American Sadako, in this film, because I think she's really good, and I think she's creepy, and like one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which I don't remember the original really having, is seeing her in a mental hospital and the doctor's like talking to her and like, you don't want to hurt anybody,
Yeah,
and
the
and she
original
goes,
doesn't have anything with that.
yeah, yeah,
That's entirely made up.
and she's like, "But I do, and I'm sorry." And it's like, oh, geez, I like that scene. I like that scene a lot, and she's really good. I think. She had aged out of the role by the time the sequel was made, just 3 years later. But no, I think that she's real good as the Sadako stand-in.
It was 3 years. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, 2002,
That's
2005.
that's also why Aiden being the same character or actor is a little weird.
Mm,
That gives that's it's been 3 years since he played that kid, and I watched them back to back. Like,
yeah,
okay, so yeah, so okay, let's talk about the second one. Confirms that Aiden has powers, but before we confirm that Aiden has powers, we have this. It's in my opinion, it's very clear that he does.
yeah, for sure. It is. It's just that it's not quite like, for example, in the original films where they were hooking the kid up to
Oh yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're not doing it. It's a very subtle.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the family knows, but no one else knows, and it's not getting out.
But so waiting for a truck to pass.
Yep, I can hear it.
And so it seems very odd to me that one of the things that really seemed to trip you up in watching the original for this Ring of Palooza is the psychic powers in it. Like
Yeah,
the husband has it, but in this we still have a character who has powers. It's just that it's instead of saying, "Hey, I have powers," as they do in the others, it just goes on said.
yeah. It's pretty much just, he has prophetic sort of dreams. Basically, is the way of it, and maybe it gets enhanced in the sequel, but in the first one it's downplayed quite a bit, whereas in the original there was a lot of people with psychic abilities. um
Okay.
so it's just that I think that it's kind of like, I don't know, the Hollywood ones don't explore the sort of gifted child sort of thing quite as much. I mean, even the sequel does, it's not that much of an important part of who Aiden is. It's just the fact that
Aiden
Aiden
is a
is,
wet towel in the second one.
I mean, it's
Every
really about
character in
kind
the
of
second
getting
one is
closer
so
to
bad.
Rachel. I kind of like Rachel still, but Naomi
Well,
Watts'
I
character.
like I like I like that in the. Let's finish up with the first one. What else?
For sure.
Yeah. What else is there to say about
Okay.
it?
Okay.
What are some of the key differences
Okay.
between
So,
it and the original?
okay. Key differences. Okay. One thing. The stuff where Rachel, Naomi Watts' character, goes and kind of investigates the children that were cursed by this tape, or even those that survived it but saw the cost of it. Um, some of those scenes, like for example, when she visits Becca in the mental hospital, that was out of the original Ring 2. Uh,
Yes, yes, it's
you
very
know,
clear. It doesn't have the freak out,
no, it
not,
doesn't, but it's
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it was
I
a
think,
homage, is what they would call it. I think.
and I think that the character work with Samara's parents is a little bit more cohesive, or at the very least, you don't necessarily it. I like that in the original. I mean, I like that in Verbinski's The Ring. Um, it's like Samara came out of nowhere and she just came back with the Morgans at this island, and then she just started ruining the island and everyone that lived, all the lives that lived there, and
That's got
I
a really Ring Zero feel to it. The idea of we just
yeah,
split it. It just split. It just happened.
and two the most experienced actors in the film, Brian Cox and Jane Alexander, are there to kind of tell this story of how Samara came there, or kind of came to be. And I think that's smart on the filmmaker's part to basically let them be the storytellers because they're good at it. And I like Richard Morgan's, Brian Cox's character. I like his final scene. I think that it's a good one, and it's different than what happens in Ring Zero. For example, Ring Zero, uh, we saw some Sadako's dad, kill her or try to and put her in the well, and then he basically poisons himself. But in this one, of course, zaps himself real good in the bathtub. Let's see other differences.
For me, the major one is the editing and the tone of it.
Yeah,
It feels like the J horror is at this time. It's very wow. It's big. It's popping. It's exciting. It's this new thing. The '90s has been slow. We got Scream that's changing up. We've reinvented the slasher. Now here comes Asian horror, and what's it doing? It's reinvented the ghost story. It's reinventing the supernatural, and it's got this very distinct style. It's very steady and slow. And then when we remake it, and I think the two worst examples for this would be the Pulse remake and the One Missed Call remake.
Yeah.
What we always seem to do once it hits the American culture is that it just suddenly becomes this in your face sort of not even phonetic in that, because it's not like Taken 3 with Liam Neeson trying to jump over a fence. Like it's not crank with that, but it compared to the original, it's so very. It moves at a much sort of quicker pace when things are like when things are happening, such as coming out of the TV and whatnot.
Sure, no,
it
I would
doesn't.
agree.
It wants to shock you. It doesn't want to build the level of dread that the original does.
Yeah, no, I would kind of agree with that. But again, so much of my experience is altered by the fact that I saw this first, and
I did as well.
So, to the point that you were also talking about there, I think one of the scenes that most exemplifies this is an American movie, and that one of the main differences from the other one is the horse scene.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the scene where they went to the White House and they shook hands with the president. Or was that only in my cut? I bought the Patriot cut from...
What? Okay, so, but the
I've never heard you so confused in my life. I'm sorry, Cal.
All right, so the horse scene seems like something that the producers might have said, okay, we need something, it's too much mystery right now. We need something that has more oomph and action. Let's put this horse scene in there. And then it's like Verbinski did it. Fine, I'll do it. And then he killed the horse, and the producers are probably like, wait, what the fuck? I think that also that
why did they want the horse?
Well, partly it goes in with the horses going crazy in Samara's history, where basically she lived at a horse farm and all the horses went insane and jumped over a cliff.
Okay.
Which, by the way, there's also a part when they're looking through.
But Verbinski didn't like that.
Well, I don't know. I just know that it feels like something that
Okay, I thought you were saying that that was the case.
No,
okay.
I'm just trying to think of, because it just feels bigger and more action movie than a lot of the rest of the movie, and it just sort of stands out the same way that the deer attack stands out in the sequel.
The deer attack feels like it is an echo. Like it feels like the deer attack exists in that film because the horse attack exists.
Let me
don't they bait us with a horse earlier before the deer? Don't they? I think they do it at one point. I think there's a point
they might,
where
but I don't remember it.
So silly.
Maybe at the fair. I'm not sure, but
maybe he's taking photos of it.
Yeah, maybe that's right. But let's see. What was I? fucking hell. Oh, one of the things I also really like is the Hans Zimmer score for the Verbinski ring. I think that
The score is beautiful.
it is, and I think that it's kind of slow and kind of sad and everything, and like it's got that humming tune that sort of feels like it's kind of reminiscent. It reminds me of Pan's Labyrinth, sort of the humming tune of that. But I really like that score.
I need to see Pan's Labyrinth.
Never seen Pan's Labyrinth?
I've seen scenes.
No, it's good. It's really good. So a couple of things about this film that, and I'm going to talk about this with the other one too, as far as what they were originally planning. Originally, and I haven't been able to 100% confirm this, but originally the producers reached out to David Lynch to direct the Ring remake. He turned it down, obviously, but it would have been interesting if only because, well, obviously a lot of reasons it'd be interesting, but it'd be interesting also
Yes,
because
a lot.
because around the same time that this came out, Lynch had basically made Naomi Watts a name with Mulholland Drive. Before that she wasn't a name actress, but now she was. But perhaps one of the biggest things that I think that's interesting that they were planning to do with this film that they didn't, and there's a hint of it in the film, is that Chris Cooper was going to play a child serial killer in the movie that Rachel is doing like a story on and everything. I think like she has like a couple of moments where she interviews him. A picture of him appears at one point in the movie when she's working at her desk, and she lifts up a drink from a newspaper, and a ring is left over his face.
But that's just it.
That's just it. But the original ending of the movie was her bringing the tape to him to show him in prison, and that would be the passing on the Aiden's curse to the child killer.
That would have made the ending less apocalyptic and more sort of Hollywood sanitary.
Yeah,
But
and I kind of like the
it would be a
original.
tight bow.
Yeah, original Nakata ending really is apocalyptic with them driving out to those clouds that just look like doom. This one is more like kind of left hanging, like who are we going to show it to? And it kind of is kind of a wink at the audience, like, oh, you just watch this. But I kind of like that. But the Cooper child killer thing is, it's not in anywhere in the movie except for a newspaper clipping with a ring over his face. But it would have been interesting to see those deleted scenes, but I'm unaware of anyone able to see them. If someone can, let me know. But let me,
Let's
before we get to, are you ready to move on to the next one?
To the short film, yeah.
Okay. Before we move on to the next one, I'm just going to say this is my favorite of the Ring series. Now a lot of that is because it's what I started with, but also it's because, well, I think it's a really good movie, but it's because it came out when I was, I think, like 16 or something like that, and it was when I was first kind of becoming interested in horror movies, and so it was kind of influential and big for me when I was young and stuff, and so I still hold some affinity towards it, and in a way I can't separate that from my feelings for the movie anymore, the same way some other movies that just meant something to me at a time, that alters my perception of it. And so I note that while also saying yes, it is my favorite of the series.
I'm going to upset you. I'm
Yeah,
going to upset you.
go ahead.
It is my second lowest.
Second lowest?
It is my second lowest.
Shit.
With Raisin being the lowest.
Shit. Rosin, I found out it's called that title.
Rosin being the lowest.
Yeah.
Ring 2 is above Ring 1.
Madness.
Madness,
Zach.
It is. And I think that it's just how interesting the stuff from the short film is, for one.
Mm.
And so that colors it a little, and then just how like insane the movie is, because
It is, though,
the
isn't it?
movie goes so batshit crazy in the weirdest way, where nothing makes sense and everything happens too quickly, and they're not slowing down to explain anything or bothering to set anything up, really. It's just happens after, and thing happens after thing happens after thing happens. But let's talk about the short film quickly.
Yeah,
You
so that
sent me this short film telling me that I need to watch it before I watch Ring 2, and it turns out that's because it literally, the first scene of the Ring 2 is so the short film ends suggesting a scene, and Ring 2 opens with the scene that it suggests.
mm-hmm.
And the short film presents the most interesting idea that I have encountered in the last while. People are there's a group of people, like teenagers, losers, fucking nobodies, really, if you look at them in the beginning. It's like 5 people, and they set up here. Okay, hey, I have the tape. I need to show you this person here. This is the person that's going to take the tape from you, and what we're going to do is we're going to record ourselves.
Yeah, the
We're going to
experiences of the curse. Yeah.
we can capture these experiences because it's a video curse.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very interesting, the way they start using the camera in order to like capture curse stuff, and they're like sharing it with people. Like
Yeah, there's like an
there's a
online,
subculture.
yeah, like an online dark web sort of community sort of thing around it.
And so that's super interesting. Now and then this character is on the last day, and the person who's supposed to take it from him refuses him. So he has to find somebody else. There was a nice girl from school. He tells her to come over. She's going to come over. The second film starts with them over and him showing her.
Yeah,
But
and it's not a great scene, but
it's a horrible scene. It fumbles it completely. But the suggestion of what's going to come from the short film is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's really good. But the most interesting idea there is the idea that there is a subculture around it. When we talked about One Missed Call, one of the most interesting things we agreed was the way that the ghost encounter, pure, undeniable evidence of a ghost bullshit,
Right,
of
right.
supernatural,
Yeah, it was on live
shown.
TV.
Yeah, and so the Ring, the short film, which is actually called Rings, this
Mm-hmm.
short film is very interesting because it actually does show you here's how this is affecting the world. There are subcultures doing this. There are people who consider themselves to be scientists of Samara.
Yeah. By the way, that short film is on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Oh, it's so good. It Rings 2005.
Yeah. Not to be
It
confused with Rings, the sequel
watch
to
it.
The Ring 2.
First you watch it, then you die. Yeah. No. But yeah, no, that short film is so good and so interesting, and then it goes absolutely nowhere, and the Ring 2 starts, and that scene is handled so clumsily, so
Yeah.
poorly, and then the rest of the move, like basically the movie had this beautiful runway was put down for it, which was the short film. You have this amazing runway. You're going to race way ahead of this first movie. This is going to be the movie that audiences talk about forever. And then as soon as it gets to that first scene, its toe hits the runway and it trips over itself for the next 90 to 100 minutes, and it just continues to tumble down a hill. It hits a branch, it hits a pipe, it thinks it's going to hold on for 1 second, and the branch snaps and it continues to fall. Like, this movie fumbles everything, and it's lovely. It's so weird, and it just doesn't... It is one of the best comedies ever made.
Okay. So one of the okay. So let's talk a little bit about what the story is. So it starts off with
Please
that
enlighten me.
Well, people are listening that don't know. Okay.
No. I mean, I know. I'm not. That wasn't a joke. I mean, if you could sort this out for me, that would be great.
Okay. So listen, the subculture that is mentioned basically goes away within the first scene.
It's not even brought up in that movie, though.
Yeah.
We don't know about the subculture. We just know really that, like, he showed her.
but even the videotape curse the videotape itself goes away within 20 minutes,
She burns it like right away as
and
soon as she
she
finds it.
succeeds,
In
she
order to
done.
burn it though, she hears like she's working in a small town as a reporter, and she hears that there's been this weird death, so she sneaks into the ambulance and looks at the kid's corpse to be like, oh no, and
Yeah.
then goes and finds the tape and burns it. And these are like our first scenes.
Yeah, so but the movie basically then, jettisons all the tape stuff and the curse stuff, and what it is about Samara, is kind of, it's like Rachel is the one that got away, and she's the mother that she now wants, and so she wants to occupy Aiden's body, and be you know Rachel be her new mom and stuff. And so basically it becomes a ghostly possession sort of story. Well, Rachel tries to figure out more about the mystery and maybe something that she missed to try to sort stuff out. And that leads her to Samara's real mother,
There
played by
is
Sissy Spacek, who's been in a mental hospital forever.
there is and Spacek does so well. There is a interesting thing to note though before we even get into all the possession stuff, even like back like even before the burning of the tape.
Mm.
It's very clear that Samara has been hunting Rachel in some form.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like she jumps out of a body bag at her,
Mm-hmm.
and she basically,
And she shouts, "I found you."
yeah, oh god, that was embarrassing. And yeah, that's the thing though. It implies that like the reason the tape is still circulating, which we know the tape is circulating because we watched the short film, but that doesn't count in this. So the reason the tape is circulating in this film, because it ignores continuity, seems to be because Samara is like trying to circulate it back to find her.
Right. It kind of
That's the
seems that.
implication.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah.
And so when she finds her, like Samara possesses Aiden and doesn't want her picture taken,
Mm-hmm.
and
Because she always shows up in the pictures. Yeah.
yeah, she kept showing up in his pictures, and then and there was a whole question of, are you abusing him?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's clearly hurt, and so they take him away from her and he gets possessed. But even at this point, like he gets possessed both later than we put it in the description and earlier in the film than we put it, in a weird way, because it's
Yeah.
like a bunch of stuff happens, because by the time he gets possessed, there's this dude hanging out with them and such, and who's supposed to be watching them, and he misses the fact that Aiden gets possessed. But like
Yeah.
it sets up a romance with this guy, and there's a very interesting part where Naomi Watts is just like, yeah, all right, well, here's what's happening. My fucking kid's got a ghost after him, like it was fucking Insidious, and so that's the states. If you want to date me, that's what you got to deal with. Oh, you don't believe me? Okay, well, fuck you then. Here, go take his picture and tell me why the fuck she's there.
I kind of like his character played Max, played by Simon Baker, because he obviously likes Rachel, and she's a colleague for one thing, but she likes Rachel, but also he doesn't believe her for the longest time, and I don't think he believes her even until he dies.
How
But
does he
yeah,
die again? I don't remember.
basically, he sets up the camera to take a picture of Aiden, and
Yep.
Samara sees that it's on like a timer thing, and we don't see him die, but we know that Samara knows, and next time we see him, he's crumpled up corpse in his car.
Yes, yes. Okay, yep. So that's the thing with that. She's like, "Hey, take his photo," and then instead of taking his photo, he waits until like goes to the hospital, comes back from the hospital, like waits for all this stuff to happen, and then it's like, maybe I'll take that photo.
Yeah.
And the weirdest thing of all is like, so Aiden, the kid playing Aiden, has to play Samara pretending to be Aiden.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like fucking 4 levels removed of acting this kid's supposed to be doing now.
Right.
He's
Yeah,
got to
that's the
be a
thing.
character who is possessed by another character who is then playing to be him.
See, that's what I
and
was
he
saying
does a
about how the first
horrible
one didn't.
job.
Yeah, the first one doesn't ask much of him other than be a creepy, withdrawn kid, and this one is like, you are the most difficult character to play in the movie. Good luck, kid. And no, it doesn't really work out. No. Um, I want to talk a little bit about Nakata's bizarre camera work in the movie,
I
including
love it. Oh, that is
weird
his kid.
zooms and
Yes,
twisting of the camera and all sorts of askew sort of stuff. And it's like, I
it's
like
Mikata
it.
saying, "I have money to burn.
Yeah,
They
and
gave me too much money to make this movie. Let's
it's
use it."
it's bizarre. It's so, the Verbinski film has mood to spare, and this one has camera pivots and camera moves to spare. It's just
I that's the reason that I actually put this one higher than the first,
hmm.
because I'm laughing through it and I'm enjoying it, and it's a very fun experience.
uh One of the other things about Nakata directing this is, we talked about how it did away with the tapes, and it's now a ghostly possession story. But how much this movie loves water, and how much that reminds me of Nakata's Dark Water more than any of the Ring movies. Um, like the bathtub scene, I like that scene. It's kind of weird how the water is just flying off of them in some super CGI way and everything, and but there's just water galore in all this movie, and I'm not sure that it's as scary as it clearly thinks it is, but it's
It's
an
n-
interesting sort of that's the main visual motif of this movie, is just it's wet.
it's not very scary. I think you're correct on that point, that it's not as scary as it thinks it is. But I do want to give it points for being dark, because the big meeting with the figure that holds the knowledge that she needs to save the day is a woman who murdered her child and went
Mm-hmm.
away. And people from all over the world come to get help with their possessed and sickly children.
Yeah, from the
And they're
Sissy Spacek character. Yeah.
and she is this child murderer who tells you that what you need to do is murder your child, and she's right. So like, the child murderer lady is a godlike figure,
Mm-hmm.
and the third act revolves around Naomi Watts having to just straight up murder a child.
No, no, and I think that, no, you're right, and I think it is dark. I think that the movie is so over the top and bizarre that sometimes you miss some of really what it's doing, and what it's doing is kind of sinister, and it's this movie is weird. I've heard some people call it compare it to The Exorcist 2, The Heretic. I think that it's
No,
just
Exorcist 2 is much weirder.
but it's just I I sorry about my dog barking.
That's okay.
Um, so
Listeners will love it. They'll be like, "Oh my god, a
I don't
cameo!"
I don't know what he's doing, but um, so it's
So what? Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. So what I wanted to say was, I think that I get the feeling, and I don't know how to prove it though, but I feel like the Sissy Spacek is essentially Andrea Yates. Like, she's a woman who drowned her kids because she thought that was the only way to save them from an impure world.
hmm.
I feel like the movie is referencing a true crime.
I didn't pick up on that, but that seems very possible. Sure.
It was a very big case around in the early 2000s.
And that's when this
So
came
it
out. So
it fits it,
yeah.
and the big question is, who was this written? It was written by somebody
I think it
that
was
was an
still written
American
by
screenwriter. Yeah. The
Aaron
writer is
Kruger.
yeah,
Yeah.
the writer of Scream 3 and Reindeer Games. Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did write Rings,
Yeah, and I mean
not the new one.
he's definitely kept busy. I mean, a lot of Transformer movies too. Um, yeah.
Ah.
So originally they wanted, and again, I've not been able to confirm all of this, but they originally went, Gore Verbinski did not come back for this, and they originally went to Richard Kelly of Donnie Darko fame to direct this. He passed, obviously.
Ooh,
But Nakata came on to direct it, and he hated his experience so much that he threatened to leave the film mid-film and go back to Japan
wow, that is some hatred.
because of constant studio interference, where he basically said that they were coming in and telling him to reshoot and refilm certain scenes completely different from how he originally envisioned them. And
This sounds like a studio, all right.
he basically stuck with the film for the sake of the actors, but he has basically disowned it. He hates the film. He thinks that there's a lot of deleted scenes for it that are basically his vision of it, but we likely will never see it. um and he never returned to make another film in the US again. He did make more English language films, including Chat Room, which he made in the UK, but stayed away from the Hollywood studios. And Naomi Watts also did not want to make this movie. She read the script and was like, no. And they pointed to her contract and they said yes, and so she had to make the movie. But yeah, so
She got paid though.
she did. It was a paycheck movie. And one of the things that I do like that
Put a mortgage on her house.
is how the movie really does end her story in the Ring series. It's done. She, in a lot of ways, she ultimately finishes the curse by closing the well in this dreamscape version of Samara's world. But
Did this movie end with her screaming, "I'm not your fucking mother"?
it
Or
did.
was I just smoking a lot of cocaine?
Well, I hope not. But okay, so no, it did, and I think that it was like the movie was so desperate to find some sort of, get away from her, you bitch, sort of line, and that's what it came up
That
with.
is, yeah, no, that is exactly, you're right.
Yeah, and that's what it came up with. But yeah, there's also a kind of a fun nod in the movie to Koji Suzuki, the writer of the books, and that, like, for example, her previous doctor or psychiatrist was Dr. Koji.
I
There's
noticed
actually
that.
Yeah, there's a part in the Verbinski film where I wish I could read Japanese, where the Martin Henderson ex-husband character is going through like documents and stuff, and he finds all this stuff on Samara and like adoption records and bizarre shit, including like the weird X-ray images of weird shit, and he finds a page that's just all Japanese, and to me, it's obvious nod to the original films. But I wish I could read it so I could say what it said, but I don't. So yeah, but that and Dr. Koji are obvious nods.
I would agree. I
Yeah,
did pick up on the Dr. Koji part, and I was like, nice. I
yeah.
wonder if that written page would be like a description of her or something from the book.
By the way, did when you watched The Ring 2, this film, did you see the unrated version? Do you know?
I do not know. I saw whatever was on Google Play.
Okay, I don't know for sure what that is, but so in the unrated cut that came on to DVD, I think it's the only version that's on DVD. This never got a Blu-ray release. Um,
Wow.
is
Poor
uh,
little bugger.
one of Mary Elizabeth Winstead's first film roles is in this movie, in only in the unrated cut, where she plays the young version of Sissy Spacek's character. Where she
Oh, I did not see that.
Yeah, where okay, so yeah, she's the in the flashbacks trying to drown the kid and everything. So that's kind of interesting too. But
Oh, I love her so much.
yeah, she's great. But so you like The Ring 2 more than The Ring?
I legitimately do, which is surprising because when I went back and I reviewed my ratings,
Mm-hmm.
I had given The Ring 2 stars, which that went up to 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave, or maybe 3.5. I'm not sure. My rating don't my ratings on Letterbox don't really matter. They're whatever.
Okay.
They're what I felt at that particular second in time, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the Ring 2 was at half a star, and it's now up there.
Yeah, currently right now I'm just looking at your letterbox. You got The Ring at 4, you got Rings at 4.5, and Ring 2 at 3.5. So again, it is just your moment in time sort of thing.
It
But
is my
yeah.
moment in time, but yeah, I'm very weird that way. And
But
also,
you still like the Verbinski one well
I
enough.
do like the Verbinski one, but I think the reason why I like this one more than that one in my head is because that one takes a film that I've already seen and I like the original more.
Yeah.
Well, and this one is some bullshit I ain't never seen before.
Yes, I will give it so much credit for that. Okay, so with some of the Ring and Sadako movies and the Ju-on movies and all that sort of stuff, some of the sequels blend together and you're not sure which one's which. This film, the story is nothing like the original Ring 2, and it's nothing like any of the Sadako sequels. It's just this bizarre, weirdo possession thing with water flying everywhere. And it's yeah, no, it is a special story, special, um, in the series that's not been done over again. Probably because a lot of people think that it was a disaster. This is not a well liked film. But I also think, and I think this applies to the original Ring. I mean, the Verbinski Ring. Is that those movies, especially the Verbinski Ring, was so popular when it came out that it became more known for its place in pop culture than its place in horror cinema. And it's like
Well,
it be
everybody knew the 7 days.
yeah, yeah, and also during this time in the early 2000s, spoof comedies like Epic,
Scary Movie played on
right?
it so
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, they were just so, and so I think that its place in horror history and just film in general was kind of diminished. And I think that when you go back and watch it now, it's like, oh, that's a good movie. It's more than just its pop culture references and status. And I think that The Ring 2 is a weird movie. I think that it's a film worth watching. I don't think it's a disaster that a lot of people think it is. Um, and I just think that it's weird how the Verbinski Ring is both a very popular horror movie and also a horror movie that people need to watch again because it's I feel like it's what we remember it as is different than what the movie actually is. It is
That's how I feel about The Ring too.
yeah. I mean, and I think that that's fair. I think that these are movies that deserve um a second look with this decade plus remove from their release date and their time of pop culture significance. I think that they are now being able to view just as movies, not as the movie that everyone's telling you to see. um and I think that they stand up pretty well. I think that the Ring 2 is bizarre, but I think it's fun. I have fun with it.
It has an energy to it that you don't see in anything else.
Yeah, no, it's wild. I love the fucking weird camera stuff. Like those weird zooms uh on Aiden when he's in the car saying, "Drive, Rachel, drive," because the deer are there, and it's just like zooming in on him. Zoom, zoom, and it's just okay, all right, sure.
Yeah. Well, Kel, I think that brings our Ringapalooza to a wonderful little end. A nice bow on top, don't you?
There's more. Obviously, there's a lot more of these movies that we can and will probably end up talking about someday, but uh, we'll see when that is. When no plans.
This carnival's gotta start rambling on to the next town.